Yeah.
Absolutely. Why not?
Both of them are from Mumbai, Ashish. Ria stays and Kalesem are both, they both live in Mumbai.
Nice.
Wow.
They both,
And where is the Ashish?
I'm also Mumbai.
Wow, which part?
I'm in Goregaon.
I used to stay in Thakur village, so I think
Ah.
Ria is very close to you.
Yeah.
Thakur village.
Very, very close.
Yeah, earlier, now I'm in Palm Beach Road. So office is in Andheri, close to airport, close to Hilton.
So are mine. So our office is on Chakala, Wall Street.
I think, are we going live? Are we going live?
Yeah, I think
are we going live? I think we are.
4:56.
Okay.
Excuse me. Can I go live? It's
Yes, please, Pankaj.
Yeah,
please.
yes.
Ji.
If you are able to look into the future, you will see that most of the learning is going to happen with a lot of fun, lot of gamification, lot of emotion, and a lot of technology. Square Panda, which has disrupted the whole scenario, the system wherein the child learns not just ABCD, but learns how to pronounce them, how to read them.
Pan. Sap is on pan. Sap is on pan. Good job. Yes.
We should look at new methodologies and accept them. These are research based. There are a lot of trials have been done on children, parents, everybody. If it is effective, then there is no reason why we should not accept it.
From the creators of the award-winning English Early Literacy Phonics playset, we bring to you a research-based, revolutionary and cutting-edge English reading product. SquareTales combine digital learning with physical application, transforming your pre-readers into independent and confident readers. Your child starts instantly from our bookshelf. Our patented blending engine helps your child blend letter sounds to form words with only 8 letters.
Pan.
Once they practice the words, they can start to read along the story through a very engaging and interactive interface.
Sap is on pan. Tap, tap, tap. Tap, tap, tap. Pan is in sap. Pan is in sap.
Several engaging activities at the end of each book help the child revise what they have learned.
Good job. Word match. Match each picture to the correct word. Tap. Nap. Sap. Good job. Yes.
And while the children revise, our product assess their learning. Just try SquareTales 15 minutes a day to see a stark progress in your child.
Hi, good evening, everyone. Welcome to another day with SquareTales Sunday. Happy Independence Day. I know it was yesterday, but Sonia is still wearing the colors. So happy Independence Day to everyone of you out there. I wanted to welcome everyone joining us, our guest speakers, our audience. I know we've got audience now coming in from Zoom, coming in from YouTube, and also coming in from our Square Panda Club, which is something that we launched only a few weeks ago, and that seems to be going very well. I hope everybody is able to hear me. At times there's an issue, but today's topic is nurturing little citizens. Again, sounds like a great topic by Sonia, and she's got some guests today that are amazing, right? And I'll do a very quick intro, and I'll let Sonia or them kind of introduce themselves. One of our guests is Colonel S.M. Kumar. I don't know what to say about him. I mean, I can just read what's written about him, which is he's earned a Sword of Honor and President's Gold Medal. And I just recently found out he's turned an entrepreneur. I think he said almost a decade. But sir, first we like to thank you and everybody in all the armed forces for their service towards our country. I know yesterday was the day everybody says it, but I think it's any day we can actually thank all of you for your services. And our second guest is a very young Ria Bell. Didn't expect somebody that young on the show, but Sonia seems to find the right people for us. She's a co-founder of Khana for Chidiya, I guess, and we guess we'll find out a little bit more about what it is. I also found out she works very closely with women farmers. And I think just want to welcome everybody, and I'll hand over the torch to Sonia to kind of introduce more our guests and then take it forward. Sonia, over to you.
Thank you, Ashish. And like I tell everybody, it's always good luck when Ashish starts a session. So thank you for being here. And now our Panda has to start the session because we have to be really true to our friends. That's it, right? So are we ready? So Pan the Panda is ready now. Pan the Panda's mummy took Pan on her lap. She then said, she showed him a beautiful atlas and said, look at that. That's the world map. The world looks like that. And Pan said, oh, really? And then Mama said, you have to care. You have to be a little citizen. And you have to be a citizen so true. Because you have to learn how to share, because this whole world belongs to birds, animals, insects, and trees too. So Pan said, oh Mama, what does a little citizen do? So this is what Mama said to Pan. She said, start from home and do your best. Start from home and do your best. Marching, marching, right and left. Marching, marching, right and left. Keep everything nice and clean. Grow some trees and make it green. Grow some trees and make it green. Lights and fans must go off. You have to cover your face when you cough. So start from home and do your best. Start from home and do your best. Marching, marching, right and left. Water is important, so don't waste a drop. All the wasting just has to stop. Start from home and do your best. Marching, marching, right and left. Little errands you must do, for mommy needs rest too. And start from home and do your best. Marching, marching, right and left. Grains and water for the birds to feed. Grains and water for the birds to feed, for they're really tiny and you must take care of their need. But what you need to do is start from home and do your best. Marching, marching, right and left. Start from home and do your best. Marching, marching, right and left. Wish and greet those you know. Please be polite as you grow. Start from home and do your best. Marching, marching, right and left. Salute a soldier who passes by. You must stop and salute a soldier who passes by. Stop and from the heart, sing your national anthem when you see your flag go to the sky. So start from home and do your best. Right and left and right. Just love your country with all your might. That's what good citizens do. That's it. Just love your country and do your little best. And today, because I was wondering when we said nurturing little citizens, what would it mean? So I thought I must invite two generations of citizens who I have seen doing their best. Uh, as you know, my husband's from the forces, and when I got married, he introduced me without a face to a name and said, "You have to meet this person because he commanded the passing out parade." I didn't know what it means then till I went and attended one almost 25 years later, where one person walks in with all the pride, with the sword in their hand, and commands a parade in a beautiful, so the ceremony is beautiful. The pride is what you can't even imagine. And and that's the time when I think I looked at, anybody who would stand there and hold that sword of honor. I wonder what pride you felt at that time. So Kalesam Kumar, very humbly, a very warm welcome and thank you for agreeing to be here with us. And then with him, how do you know what this man with the sword and protecting the country, what does he do it for? Who does he do it for? So he does it so that young people, people who want to grow the country can grow safely. So I thought of Ria. How I remember her for the first time is I walked in and she gave me this beautiful gift and she said, "It's a house for birds. Would you feed them?" I had normally seen young people. I think I met Ria when she was a little class 10 or so. And for a young girl who, young children at that time were doing late nights and they were doing different things, I found this very vibrant, shiny, smiley, scrubbed young girl walking up to me and giving me a gift and telling me, we need to save sparrows. So I thought this is the best time to bring two wonderful humans together, one who gives us the environment and one who grows in this environment. So I thought that was the best way I could get you all together. And Ria, a very warm welcome, and we promise to keep saving as many sparrows as we can.
Thank you.
Also has a beautiful story. So we'll now, today I'm going to leave you all to listen to their stories. I'm not going to intervene. I don't have questions to ask. I just want you to enjoy this journey with these wonderful, wonderful citizens of our country. So Kalesam Kumar, we'll start with your story first.
My story is very simple. I'll have to go back 3.5 decades or so because you reminded me of academy, but it was not that glamorous. I can still remember my first day at the National Defense Academy, and I came from my mother was all of 8th class pass, so I came from a humble background. My father was a teacher. Okay, so who do I see? I saw people from Doon School, Mayo College, people who had just one or two had left St. Stephen's College and they had come there. People who were generals, children who were general's son, marshal's son, and they all spoke fluent English and they all looked much accomplished. And me coming from Bihar, which was the most laggard in the Bimarus then, and I had started studying English at class. I was very, very nervous. And God always comes to your rescue whenever such things happen, in such tough times. It was really God. So when it happened, I saw, and they herded us into barber shop. And everyone was herded into a shop, and they gave us a crew cut. It was sharper than it is now. So hardly any hair left. And not, they took and followed everything. And they gave us khaki shorts, and they gave us the camouflage dress and the olive greens. And everyone looked alike. So by next day morning, everyone looked alike. In a sense, on day one, the playing field had been leveled. And then India, you do lots of training. And actually, it's a very funny place. You have about 8 hours of official training and about another 8 hours of unofficial training. And वैसे तो आपने सुना होगा कि you can only walk. If you have to go from place A to B, you can walk or cycle or something. So India, we had cycle, but we used to always keep it on our head. Cycle used to be on our head and then go. And then we learned new ways of going from place A to B. You could front roll, you could back roll, you could side role. You could also do Dadu Chal, move like a frog. And there were motivational quotes, what I can remember all the time. You know, you went to weapon training area. It was the more you sweat in peace, the less you bleed in war. So there were a lot of motivation, but I'll leave that Indian story aside. So after 3 years, you know, in NDA, we, the army guys, went to Indian the Air Force guys went to learn flying, and they went to Air Force Academy, and naval guys learned all maritime craft in their ships and submarines. So Indian Military Academy, 1 year training. So 3 years in India, 1 year in Indian Military Academy, 4 years. And I was, as you said, you know, very kindly introduced. I was selected to command the passing out parade. And as I turned to give my first word of command to get the parade to attention, there was a great sense of satisfaction. It did not matter where you started from, what you accomplished did. Okay. And the harder I worked, luckier I got, you know. That has been the story, very briefly. And I think we'll listen to Ria's story, I think.
No, just before
That's
we
excited
go
about.
to Ria, you know, there was one part of the story which Kanlesem was telling me is that when he turned to, you know, you command the parade towards the parade, and when he turned back, he saw his mom and dad sitting ahead of every guest of honor. They were the guest of honor there. You know, they even before the army chief, even if there is a president there, if there is the mother and father of the person commanding the parade get that kind of an honor from the system. So I think I can imagine as a mother what kind of pride she must have felt to see, you know, her son turn around and actually walk past. So yes, it's a beautiful story, and also perhaps tells us that what he said was so true. It's not where you start, it's how you enjoy the journey and where you have the courage to end, you know. So I think that's what is really, really important, right? And Ria, now coming to your story about how you began Khana for Chidiya.
Yes. So I don't have to go back 3 decades. I have to go back 6 years. I was.
So 6 years is not very long back, Ria.
So I was only about, I think, a little after my 10th grade, and that's when I started noticing that the number of sparrows in Mumbai were depleting, and they were really going down because I didn't see sparrows anymore. And that's also when my mom saw this little chidyaghar at an art exhibition in the backdrop of an art piece. And so she said, okay, why don't we start painting these and you know, call it something, and start seeing if sparrows might actually come and sit here and eat from this little space. And so my mom, being my mom, ordered 100 and said, okay, Ria, it's your summer. Why don't you paint 100 sparrow feeders? And that's how Khana for Chidiya really began. Its short form is KFC. And so that's really how that journey began. So after 10th grade, I went to college. I went away from Mumbai to study, but every time I would come back home, there would be more sparrow feeders for me to really paint. And I think you're saying something, but you're not.
Yeah, and so Ria, I wanted to ask you a question. When you were getting your sparrow feeders, you made a business transaction, money transaction with your dad. What was that little story? I want you to share that with us. She doesn't give sparrow feeders for free. She makes you buy them.
So we had to pay for the paint and to initially buy the sparrow feeders. And at the time, I was also raising money to buy my own camera because I'm interested in photography, and coincidentally, that's also part of what I do for work now. But so I told my dad that I need this much amount of money, and so this much I'll put into like my camera fund, and then this much I'll go and put into more sparrow feeders, because by that time also people were sending us images and videos of sparrows coming, but also pigeons coming. And my mom and I were confused because we were like, okay, this is pretty small, like how are pigeons fitting? But pigeons, crows and parrots have found ways to now put their head in and innovated. So we were getting all of these warm, joyful messages of more birds and just more chirps in the neighborhood. So that was also the little story about how did eventually buy my own camera and have sold many sparrow feeders since then. It's just a journey that is a gift that keeps giving, really.
Yes, and how beautiful that, good intent and being a good entrepreneur is what any place of the world needs, let alone India. I think where any business community that chooses to make its money is so important, but chooses to be a good human to what they're doing. I think that must be. So, Ria, I think that's the message I will take from you, that if I have to grow a beautiful community, a beautiful world, then I have to be a responsible entrepreneur. I have to make my money, but I have to give back. I think that's a very beautiful. That's also one very beautiful part about when I connected to the Square Panda team. I found their intent beautiful, and I think today when we're talking of the new education policy, we're talking about skills. Ria, people like you, people like, Kalesem, people like Ashish, who gives us this platform, you'll all actually tell everybody what good citizenship is all about. So, Kalesem, we'll come back to you and we'll ask you to go ahead with another story which you have to tell us. The choice is yours. I don't have questions to ask. I will leave you to what you want to tell us.
So fine. Thank you. So all I can say to, children, my millennial friends, that you are blessed to be born in very exciting times, because all artificial barriers are being dismantled. Because if you remember, in India, old times, only Raja Maharajas and Brahmins used to have access to education. Even talented guy like Eklavya, you must have heard, had to sit out. And in the city of Gurugram, where I used to live. But today, with a $30 smartphone, 2,000 rupees smartphone, you can connect to much of the world. And, you can connect free to, Square Panda and a whole lot of other people who are giving this education and whole massive online open courses. And you can do the learning the correct way, not like hamari tarah dhakke khate khate, you can learn reading, writing the correct way, and you can be. So great job is being done. And that's why when I heard of it, I immediately said yes. So my young friends are born without the baggage of the past. Sonia, you must remember that, our generation, when we were born, firstly, our parents and grandparents were born in India, which was ruled by British. And it is apt time to remember because, we take freedom for granted. We were born with legacies, endless advice from parents. And I'm sure your mother also had that, Sonia, ko ye banana hai, ye karna hai. The young people have access to the world.
Yes.
Great. So my young friends, you can be what you want to be today, what you dare to be, what you dream to be. We are experts of the past. You are the experts of the present and the experts of the future. You can anticipate the future and you can create the future. But I want to tell you that, the world is, Sonia, I want to tell, the world is changing very rapidly because technology today is a force for major disruption. And anyone can tell me how many years it took telephone to reach 50 million users? Anyone? Quickly type. Any guesses?
You told me, so I can't type it. I have to be honest.
Okay. So it took telephone about 75 years to reach 50 million users.
Yes.
So yeah, I can see some people trying to take a guess. And radio 38 years. So by radio we were half, and by the time television, which came in our lifetime, it took 13 years. Internet took 4 years. Facebook took 3 years. And Instagram and WhatsApp took about 17, 18 months. So Angry Bird Space App, anybody has heard? I'm sure some people of the young generation have heard that. That took 35 days. Pokemon Go took 19 days. Upa Gangnam Style, TikTok and all, that took less than 10 days. And then contemporary, Wink went viral in about 2 days. So in this world, you'll have to innovate and differentiate or die. Entrepreneurs like Ashish have to, every day innovate and then come with more innovative formats to get people, and you'll have to think exponentially. You'll have to think incrementally. And so there is that need to selection and maintenance of fame, what I say, the first principle of war, which was always select and then stay focused. Okay. And differentiate or die. So thank you. That's I hope that makes some sense.
Of course, because to make, I think also it's about how we connect. So today, Kanasam, when we are doing this whole program, we have a lot of young parents who come and join us. We have a lot of young teachers who come and join us. So these are people who are going to influence these little children to become what we hope to see this country in the next 20 years. So the one word that I pick up from what you say is, you should be very, very adaptable, very innovative, and keep your eye on the eye of the bird. Don't
Agile.
focus, you know?
Agile is the word.
Agile. So if we have to grow
Cheetah.
like that, they're little 2-year-old, 3-year-old, 4-year-old, 5-year-old, 8-year-old, or maybe 10, 12-year-old children. How do we make them like that? How do we put them through a small journey which gives them the ability to be flexible, to be able to innovate, to be able to adapt? Because so many times I see parents telling me children are stressed out, children are not responding. Or so how do we create this community that does not get stressed out but enjoys these journeys, takes up challenges, decides that it's not so difficult? So in the last few days, I'll just make a connect to what we've been doing. We were talking about mindfulness, noticing. Ria noticed that the sparrows were going away. We were talking about children not having been corrected so much that they have the fear of innovation. Who is an innovator? A person who doesn't have the fear, who doesn't say, oh, I'm going to fail. So whatever conversations we had before we met both of you are actually leading us to understanding how you are what you are as people, you know. I think that's one thing. So Ria, we'll come to you now. We also know that you work with farmers. After you finished your graduation, you went to work with farmers. Two things that I want you to touch on is, one, out of many people who would have perhaps gone in for a completely more commercial job, what made you choose what you choose? That's question number one. The second one is, how do you think how you were nurtured by your parents do you feel that it influenced you? A little bit about what you did with the farmers, I would like to know that. And these two questions, please, that, you know, how did you choose this while everybody was going into more, you know, standard fields? And do you feel that the way you were brought up influenced you to think like you do?
I think my answer would feed off of what Colonel was talking about, which is that technology has brought many changes, definitely. I'm a generation that sort of has my life all laid out largely on social media. I can see what I was doing this day 1 year ago and the year before that. But since the past few days, I've really been thinking about how it is also a part of an illusion where you feel like you are connected to so many people across the world, but then you might forget your neighbors and you might forget your immediate society and the people who are your support network. So I think it was that kind of sort of wake-up call for me in terms of realizing that I actually don't know where my food is coming from, and that farmers are people who also keep our nation alive in many, many ways. And somehow they often don't get the kind of respect that you would give a doctor. So that's where I really wanted to begin my journey after college and really find out what's been going on in terms of the agrarian world and the agrarian crisis. So personally, it was not a very big jump for me in terms of not doing necessarily what my peers were doing. I felt like the more I veered towards what the voice in my head was saying, the less I compared myself to what other people were doing. Because we were doing radically different things. There was no, we couldn't compare. And definitely, I think the way I was brought up has a huge role to play in it. And I'd say something that has been instrumental in my life is going out to play. If I hadn't gone out to play, I wouldn't have noticed that there were sparrows around me in so many large numbers when I was younger to begin with. And that's also where technology plays a role today, where it's just so easy to be holed up in your room and looking at a screen and pretending like you're playing, but you're not moving your body, you're not really getting your creative juices flowing, because that's also what I think gets an innovator in their flow and in their rhythm.
How beautiful is that? You know, on one side we're talking of a whole digital world today, and you know, it's amazing that the last few days, whatever we are looking at the new policy of the government, we realize now they are going to actually make the children play. You know, we are asking people to take children out and take them out to play, because like she said, that everything on screen can be camouflaged. But if you go out there, you sweat, you see the weather, you see the birds, you see changes in the environment. So that is something which we are not seeing enough, I think. Also because we are also working in very, very safe environments, you know. If I'm feeling warm, I can switch on an AC. When I was younger, we didn't have all of this, right? So we were watching the weather change. Now I can just monitor. So outdoor play is so, so important. And I think that's one very important point that Ria has touched on, that, you know, just let your children out to play in the open, interact with people, observe little changes that have happened. So I think that's, Ria, so even though, you know, we know all of this, it just helps when we have, you know, somebody who's experienced all of this, right? So, Kalesa, I'm going to ask you one question, even though initially I told you no, not a question, but I'm just thinking today that I must ask you one question. You wore the uniform for many years and with a lot of pride. You perhaps achieved things in the uniform which even an average, I actually, first of all, no soldier would be an average soldier. I think each one is an exceptional soldier. So out of the exceptional soldiers also, you achieved something more exceptional. As your perception, when you wore the uniform, citizenship, and today as an entrepreneur, citizenship, what does it mean to you?
So I think it's not much of difference. I think citizens are all soldiers of the nation. We all contribute in a different manner. We were told, we were given the task that, you know, you have to ensure territorial integrity and sovereignty of India between border pillar this and this. No enemy intrusion is acceptable. Not an inch of territory. Last man, last round. So those kind of ethos were built in. But even as an entrepreneur, you know, if I look at it today also as a, you know, so I say that every citizen is a soldier of the nation. So it's nation first, then organization next, and then it is our people as leaders, you know, because and then it is about us. So us comes last. So if I can just recount the Chetwodian motto which influenced us,
Please,
you know,
yes.
when we passed out of that hallowed Chetwood Hall, safety, honor, and welfare of your country come first, always and every time. You know, the honor, welfare, and comfort of the men you command come next, and your own ease, comfort, and safety come last, always and every time. So that was the motivation of leaders of my generation. You know, people and leaders of my generation always led from the front. They always do. At the end of last century, you would have heard during Kargil conflict, this young, you know, Captain Vikram Batra standing atop a recaptured post from Kargil, and he fired the imagination of a nation when he said, "Ye dil mange bor," you know. And then Vikram laid down his life in the next assault and edged his place in history. And he was indebted nation awarded him Paramveer Chakra, the highest gallantry award. And there was another gentleman called Major D.P. Singh. He was wounded, both legs amputed. He runs marathon now. He was brought in dead, more than 100 bullets and sharpnels. And day before yesterday, I was sharing the dice with him. And 140% disability. So they just told him, we are 100 se zyada nahi ho sakta, so isko 100 hi rakhenge. And he was declared dead on arrival, but he still survived. And he still today runs marathon, and he's done para jumps, and he's done high altitude marathon. And each time he stretches the boundaries. Self-limiting thoughts. And I asked DP, what keeps you going? He said, just overcome self-limiting thoughts. So parents are leaders. So parents are leaders at home, you know, so they have to lead from the front, and then they have to be the ultimate role models. Okay, so that is very two penny bit. Long answer to your short question, simple question.
No, I think that was beautiful. You know, there is also today, even during as children grow and there's the corporate, obviously that is the culture that grows with you know, any growth. The younger people, I don't see them wanting to spend too much time in reaching the top. Question every little thing. Questioning minds are good, but then there is a whole journey that you have to take. We all have to remember that. So, there's that one thing that you all say, that it's not to question why. That's one thing which I want you to, you know, say to everybody, please.
No, I think, you know, so I think it's a shared challenge. When I ask also young people come into my organization, they ask them, sir, it's not challenging. Sir, I'm not getting that self-actualization. Well, I think attitude is very, very important. And if I can go back into history, there was this guy called Edmund Hillary. He had come from New Zealand, and people don't know about, what happened before that. Edmund Hillary first time failed during his climb to Mount Everest. Second time when he failed, he was just short of Mount Everest, but he couldn't make it to Mount Everest. And he said, look, as a mountain, it's a very, very, you can Google this image. It's a very, very beautiful image. He says, as a mountain, you will not grow. As a human being, I will continue to grow and I will conquer you. So he did. So he did conquer in third attempt. And, Mahmud Ghazni, though he was an invader, he got India in 17th attempt. Okay. And then you would have heard of the story of Chinti and all. Upar chalti hai. So my friend, it doesn't, entrepreneur like Ashish will tell you, it doesn't happen overnight. It has to be built brick by brick. In my entrepreneurship, 4th month, we lost, a lot of money, because, and we had a choice either to fire 20 people, or to sell my house. And the choice was very simple. It was not dictated by business logic. It was dictated by military upbringing. Sold the house and kept the people on the job. And the same thing, and when a new model comes in, you have to be agile and adaptable. You see like animal like cheetah in nature, you can see it in sports. So cheetah is the fastest animal on earth. It can run up to 106 kilometers per hour. And since we are doing well on time, so I will take half a minute because I did a lot of things on cheetah.
No, you can talk. I mean, we would love to hear you.
Yeah, Sonia, we are doing well on time. I have realized,
Yeah,
well on time. So this cheetah runs, 106 kilometers per hour. And this is not from single cheetah. 386 cheetahs were studied in Africa, 3 females, 2 males. They can run up to 106 kilometers per hour. But most of the time it conserves its speed. So it runs only at 60 kilometers per hour. And it can actually, when it swoops onto the prey, it can speed up very fast and it can even slow down 4 meters per second. It can turn left, it can turn right. And I can see some of my young friends are writing there. Priyaja had written in that, and adaptability, agility and all. So this agility is very important. If you look at sports, Muhammad Ali ke baare mein they say that when he used to go to his bedroom, he used to switch off the light. He used to be in bed before, the light went off. So people were all sportsmen, Serena Williams, Vishwanathan Anand and all, they are all incredibly agile. Formula One world champion, Lewis Hamilton. I've been with him many times. So they are incredibly agile. So whenever you go to any of these people, so I hope I don't go on left, right and center. But Rekha is also.
No,
Rekha
not
is
at
also.
all.
But one thing is there, agility does not mean that you don't plan in detail. And let me just narrate one. This is the last of the stories that I will narrate. And I'll keep it to 2 minutes. So I came from an old battalion. People always say that how army manages to excel in every situation. Yeah. I'll tell you, it's first the selection and grooming system, which I will not today cover. But let me tell you how much detail things they plan in. Even a dinner, a mundane thing like dinner, I'm saying that 60 days before this, the guest list was planned and pruned and then discussed. By 45 days, invitations would go out. And when you start getting the acceptances or regrets, they have to be accepted with the same politeness and humility. And by the way, my dear Sonia is handwritten, and yours sincerely and signature is also, and every single one. So there is a protocol followed. Who comes in at what time? Who comes in at 7:25? Who comes in at 7:27? Who is received how? Who is received with wife and who is received single? And who is received where? Who is received with bugle and who is received without? How many drinks served in the lawn? And how many served inside, which dinner is candlelit and which course is without candles, which is played with bands and which one without band, when is national anthem played, who is toasted and how, and I can go on and on. What happens after dinner and post dinner activities, everything is planned to a T. And yes. so there is no hurrying or scurrying. So everything proceeds very well. And then there is contingency planning, 100 contingencies if light goes off for this. And then we are told that in war no plan will survive contact. So 101st thing will come up, and you expect me to do 7 things and we will do the 8th thing. So there is a great emphasis on planning while still. So selection and maintenance of aim, agile, stay focused. We say do less to do more, be super specialist, and then success will come. It doesn't come overnight. It looks very glamorous. 10,000 hours is the golden rule. So don't on day one only say that, but choose the correct. And when you're choosing your career, the last thing, when you're choosing your career, there are 3 things. One is passion. Do what you like, And second is market. What is in demand? Market is demand and supply. So look at what is in demand. If your passion demand meets, then skill yourself in doing that. So your career choice or what you want to do in life is a function of passion, market. If you're greatly passionate, but it's not at all in demand, then you will probably not make enough money. Then if you are a Maharaja's son or Maharani's son, it's fine, or daughter. So it's fine, but so passion, market, and skills, and skill yourself. And
Yeah.
shelf life of skill is 5 years.
Great. So
That
this
is it.
this is a nice message for the parents, you know. See, as your children grow, a few things which they must do what they really like, and a little bit of nudging and guiding is very important. Very, very important, because we see, I see a community today that just lets a 6-year-old do what they want to. The deal is a 6-year-old needs you to guide them a little bit. So please do that. We are now coming to you. If I say citizenship, what does it mean to you?
A big word for just being a good person, to whatever values you hold.
Speak up, Ria. Could you speak up a little? Yeah, we're not able to. Yeah.
I'd say it boils down to the values you hold true to yourself and how well you live them. If you are an honest, compassionate person, you are living true to values you hold important. And am I audible now?
Yes, sort of. I also want to ask you, Ria, as you grow this nation as your generation, what kind of citizens do you want to see around you? Give me 5 things you want to see in a citizen. You said honesty, compassion.
Honest, compassion, courageous,
Courageous, okay.
people who are value integrity,
People who? Okay.
And people who can do nothing.
Oh, wow. People who can do nothing. Now, what does that mean? Who can just be?
You have to just sit with yourself and be able to remove time for yourself and heal and rest and draw boundaries between work, play, and rest.
How beautiful is that? So we did a beautiful session of breathe and be, you know. I think each of our things that we are speaking today seem to have connected with something we just have done previously, where they said that, you know, why can't you just be? There's another thing which I thought I must put in, is that I don't see discipline. You know, a self-disciplined nation is so necessary today. I work with a lot of children, I work with a lot of parents, I work with a lot of teachers, and it's amazing that even online, the kind of indiscipline we see with people, even starting from, you know, a comment which you wouldn't dare to say if I was in front of you. It's about self-discipline, right? It's about the way you wake up, the way you sit, the way you talk, the way you just somewhere niyam, you know, and lines. My mom used to always say कि दायरों में काम होना चाहिए. Always draw a processing way with children. I think that's really important. You know, and like I said, two generations. One says quick agility, but each thing takes time. Brick by brick, you'll build that agile child. Don't be in a hurry. It doesn't work like that, right? Also, very few comparisons, if possible. That would really help us to have this big set of very interesting citizens. Go out and play with your children. It's important. And Ria and Kalesem, I'm going to ask you all for one more little story which you would like to share with us. You know, Ria, it could be an experience with a farmer, and Kalesem, it could be any one of your rich experiences which you have. It could be with you know, people who are achievers, people who are people who've seen very tough lives. So any 2 very quick stories from both of you. Ria, if you're thinking, we'll tell Kalesem to start.
Okay, so I will tell you no stories today. I'll just tell you some plain fact research, because facts, truth doesn't lie. So, you know, research indicates, and this is not my research, this is a French scholar who studied at Oxford. Earlier in another session, I said Cambridge, so I really don't know whether he studied at Oxford or Cambridge. So, but research indicates that from 3500 BC to 1700 AD, that is 5200 years, India was world's largest power, and we were a quarter of world economy. Then just 200 to 300 years, things went wrong. We missed a couple of revolutions and we went through slavery and all. So the digital revolution, the flattening of the world, the young people who are listening, the young parents who are going to, lead them into future of tomorrow, the demographic dividend, our great diaspora which is spread, and the shifting sands of geopolitics. All this provide us a great opportunity to reclaim our lost glory. So make the most of. I am very, very kind of bullish on the young generation, the Ria generation, and then very thankful to people like Vanna, Rosie, Priya, Kalpana, who are kind of continuously typing and giving, and to Ashish and you for the chance. So my advice to young people: stay positive, embrace technology, think disruptive, grow exponentially, do new things, adopt new ways of doing things, be a great team player, be a leader, communicate well, consistently upskill, be agile, build an ecosystem, and finally dream and do big. And the best dreams are not the ones that you get while sleeping, but the ones that prevent you, that don't let you sleep. So I thank you all for patient hearing. I don't think we'll have time for another story.
No, this is so beautiful. No, we will. So it's also so important that, a person who's doing such varied kind of work comes down and speaks with all of us. I think that's beautiful. We have one incident which your story, which you feel would help all of us to understand what, this whole process is all about. Tell me.
Oh my God. Like Colonel covered a lot.
Tell me, you give me one experience with maybe a farming community, or when you were working, which you feel would make us understand this whole thing a little better. Come.
Definitely. So I don't know if you can view my marathon chest numbers right here.
Yeah, we can, yes.
So recently I ran my first 21 kilometers and I raised about ₹1 lakh for women farmers. And this, I think, speaks to what you were talking about in terms of self-discipline. I've been running since the 5th grade. And I think that has really, really instilled some kind of discipline in me. It really wouldn't have been possible without my parents and mentors and coaches I have had. My mom would have to wake up with me at 5 a.m. 5 days a week, get me to school, and then prepare my breakfast and prepare my dabba and then get that to school too. Even our house help, Savita, she's played an instrumental role in ensuring that I am who I am today. So in terms of self-discipline, I think if you're disciplined in one aspect of your life, it just leaks onto you. And I've definitely seen it in terms of my interactions with women farmers. Women farmers do a majority of agricultural work in India, but are not recognized as farmers, because you usually assume that there's a man who the land title is, he owns the land, so he's the farmer. But women wake up much earlier, take care of their homes, take care of the farm, and often sleep less and eat less. So I think,
my God,
also the discipline that women farmers show is something that I have learned from and really, really value.
My God, that is beautiful and a very, very interesting perspective, because Ria, I write for little children. I don't have a woman farmer in my books. That's the one thing I'm going to do. I am going to put women, and how beautifully she said that they're so disciplined that they wake up early and they're the last to sleep. So much to give, so much to learn, so much to share, and so much to do to create these beautiful, a better nation, a better world. And I think today's been a great session, Kalesem and Ria. Thank you so much. And Ashish, thank you for letting me choose, this whole vibrant set of people that, we are bringing together. So yes, thank you all for joining us. And next week, we'll be seeing you with something really interesting. We've been talking about the new education policy, but we won't be discussing the policy with you. But I'm going to bring on a very special guest who works with senior children, and she and me are going to talk about what we do in the foundation and what the effects are when they grow up. So that's how we are going to interpret the policy, because I don't think we are still equipped to make too many comments on the policy, but it's a beautiful document which I am enjoying reading each day. And that's what we are going to talk about. So we are going to, Mansa is going to be there, Ashish, for next week. She's somebody who's worked with the CBSE, the CCE, and various other things. So that's our next week's session. Kalesem, Ria, Ashish. Ashish, over to you before we wind up.
Well, thank you so much, Ria, Colonel. It was a great session. Great to hear some stories. Colonel, I'd like to hear some more stories offline. But again, thank you everyone for joining. Thank you, Sonia, for having the beautiful guests that you usually do. See you guys next week. Have a good weekend.
And
Bye-bye.
big thank you to everybody who kind of tweeted: Sejal, Anusha, Rosie, Shavita, Neelam, Preeti, Ria, Sanjana, and I'm sure we're missing out Aarti, Vanna, Sangeeta. So everyone, and then big thank you
How
to.
nice you've been actually making notes on this. That's really fabulous.
So they make our day, and Nishita and everyone else. So big thank you to everyone.
Yeah, Nishita, you're right there. Okay. So this is one thing I've learned today. Anna had rose 8 kuch. So thank you.
To Archana, Shalja, everyone.
Thank you. Thank
Pinky
you.
also.
Thank you, Ashish, and bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you to you
Thank
for
you,
being
Ashish.
there. Thank you. Bye-bye.
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 The creators of the award-winning English Early Literacy Phonics Playset, we bring to you a research-based, revolutionary and cutting-edge English reading product. SquareTales combine digital learning with physical application, transforming your pre-readers into